Alright, here we see a set of 8 spark plugs from the N63 V8 engine on a late model BMW. Now this engine is used in the 750i, 750Li, and it's the performance engine available in the X5, which would be their 5.0i twin turbocharged V8 engine. Now, the turbochargers are actually located between the cylinder heads, there in the center of the engine. They call this a hot V design, where the intake manifolds are actually bolted to the side of the head where the exhaust manifolds on a conventional engine would be. Now, this is very much a performance engine. It's a real winner as far as performance is concerned, but BMW has been plagued with some reliability issues. One is that it has a tendency to use oil. Now, what we see is this set of spark plugs was removed from the engine. As far as I can tell, this is the original equipment. So these 8 spark plugs have approximately 82,000 miles. And what was happening is we were set a fault code for intermittent misfire on cylinders number 5 and cylinder number 8. And as you can see, the portion of the porcelain insulator that was facing the intake valve would periodically be splashed with oil. And I see a considerable oil ash. Now obviously some cylinders are ingesting a little more oil than others, but apparently cylinder number 5 and number 8 were such that it would actually flash over there in the carbon left by the oil burning away, the oil ash residue. Interestingly enough, on this engine, over on the passenger side, we have the cylinders 1, 2, 3, 4, and over on the driver's side is 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 8 and 5 that were the offender. Now, like with all of the late model BMWs, it's coil on plug. And here we see the ignition coil. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the ignition coils on this N63 engine. It was just simply the spark plugs fouling. Now you'll notice, and these are the original equipment spark plugs, is they have a 12.14 millimeter socket is required to remove them. It has to be a very thin wall 14 millimeter socket, and this is a socket purchased from Snap-on specifically for this purpose. One thing I like about it, it has this relief there for the extension. There, the retaining ball actually comes through this port and gives a little more resistance of actually pulling the extension off of the socket and allows me to pull it from the spark plug. I do have a little bit of the silicone grease used there on the insulator of the spark plug, and of course when I install an ignition coil, and that helps out tremendously. Now here I see another one of these thin wall sockets. It's a socket specifically designed for this purpose. For the V8 application, the swivel is not necessary, but I can see that how this could really help in some applications. So before you do this job, and one thing that happens, our friends at ECS Tuning, where we purchased our components, they reminded you, don't you need one of these? Make sure you pay attention, because chances are you do. If you think, oh, I have 12.14 millimeter deep well sockets, has to be a very thin wall. If it's not thin enough, you're not going to be able to get down in the well in the aluminum head. There you'll notice that the clearance between the spark plug and the side of the well is very tight. It requires this thin wall socket. Now, it's a little bit of a nuisance to pull these plugs, and of course obviously I have to pull a coil. If you were any suspect that coils were failing, and they can and they do, then it would be a good time to go ahead and freshen them up. But this engine 80,000 or 82,000 miles. Went ahead back with the old coils and we were just fine. Do have a set of new ones here for another customer or in the future. Now, I do have a brand new plug here, and this again is a Bosch plug, but here you can see the dramatic difference there between a clean porcelain insulator and one that's fouled with lubricating oil. Now, most late model cars call for platinum plugs, where they'll either have a single center platinum electrode, or it'll be double platinum, where they actually have a platinum pad on the side electrode. So there are actually two platinum electrodes. Now, one thing that's kind of is obvious, and of course the manufacturer of the spark plug is really stressing this, we do not gap these plugs. If I were to insert any type of instrument there and pry, it would be very easy for me to damage the platinum plug pads. I would never want to do that. Now, what happens if you drop the plug on the floor and it closes down the side electrode? Well, best thing to do is go ahead and grab a suitable instrument. Be careful and do not break the porcelain insulator, and just simply pry this over without touching the platinum pads. Go ahead and sight it as best you can to get the approximate gap. Under no circumstances are we to put something between the electrodes. And the same thing goes for the iridium plugs too. The idea of the platinum or the iridium plug is that the metal is not going to erode away. It will maintain a consistent gap over the life of the plug, which can be as much as 100,000 miles. But that's not why these plugs fail. These are failing because of fouling of the porcelain insulator.